real estate owned. This is when they went to the auction, they tried to auction it off, but the property goes back to the lender because nobody wanted it. And in 2008, 2009, we had a whole bunch of these, right? Because the market, a lot of times the market fell down so much that the price the property was being auctioned off was not worth, it was more than the actual value of the property. So you had a lot of these situations and scenarios where the loans, the properties were coming back to the lenders. And this is why so many lenders went out of business, because as they're taking these properties back, once they have a lot of properties back on their books, now they have to put money aside for these properties. That's money that they cannot then go lend out to people. And that's money, if they're a bank, they can't go give to people if they're coming in and asking to take their money out of the bank. That's why you saw in 2007, it began with a whole slew of residential banks going out of business, getting swallowed up by bigger banks because they just had too many REOs on their books, too much distress, and they didn't have enough liquidity, right? And this is why a lot of times the lenders don't want to take the properties back, especially if they are a bank, right? They don't want to get to this stage. And if they're a regular lender, like a mortgage lender or hard money, they don't have that same regulation as a bank does. But what they generally are not in the business of owning properties, because once they take the property back, now it's their property. So property taxes, they got to pay the property taxes, they got to pay the insurance, they got to maintain the property. A lot of cities like Oakland and San Francisco will fine you if there's vagrants, or if there's issues at the property, they're going to blame you. So there's a lot of liability for the lender. That's why this is a great time to try to strike a deal. Now, residential properties, if you had a Fannie Mae or FHA or Freddie Mac loan, these properties will be offered to only homeowners for the first, I believe, 25 to 30 days, state of California. All right. So again, if you're looking to purchase properties, this is a great time to be able to purchase them. Now, a lot of times these properties will, especially residential, they will be listed on the market. Residential lenders typically have brokers that they work with, and as soon as a property gets back, they get it with a broker because they want it to go through this process. However, commercial real estate is not the same. They are looking to get a deal done. They also have brokers that they have a list of brokers that are approved that they work with. They send it out to the brokers. But if you can get to them before it goes to the market, a lot of times they will, if the number you offer them is satisfactory, they will take a deal. And I've done a lot of deals like this back in the day where we were tracking a property and went to auction, and we made offers directly to the bank, and we're able to get those offers taken. And a lot of times in banks, for banks, they will work with you, and if you can get them the right number. Now, cleaner, the title is cleaner. It gets delivered to you. You're not going through the auction. When you close escrow, you should have a nice, fresh, clean title. You can do your due diligence. It is an as-is sale, right? And understand that the the lenders may not have all the information about the property. Like if it's an apartment building, they may have a profit and loss statement and a rent roll from when they originated the loan, but they probably don't have an up-to-date profit or loss statement or rent roll, right? So that's important. Now, if you're an owner and the bank takes it back at this point, you no longer own the property, right? If and they didn't auction it off and sell it for more, so you don't have that opportunity to get that overage. Now, here's what, especially if this is an owner occupied situation, if you owned this property was your primary residence, a lot of people did not know this in 2008, 2009, and so they abandoned the property. And that was a huge mistake, because a lot of times you may be and maybe entitled is not the right word, but you have the opportunity to get what's called cash for keys from the lender in order to relocate, because you live there. Foreclosure is when they take the property from you, the ownership of the property. But if you live there now, you still have possession of the property. And so a lot of times you will be able to get cash for keys. We had a situation recently, we we're working a short sale. The lender just would not reduce the price. The property needed a lot of work. They would not reduce the price to the market price, or they would not reduce the price to a price where investors wanted to buy it. So the lender took it back. It went to auction, didn't sell at auction, they took it back. Well, the lender came and they provided a very nice cash for keys to the owner, and that helped him to go and get another residence. And they will typically like to do this as opposed to eviction because they're going to spend typically that money or more on an eviction, and it's going to take longer. So if you do lose your primary residence, they will be willing to, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, to work a cash for keys situation out for you, and that could at least help you to get back on your feet, get you another place to go. And a lot of people did not know this back in the day, and so they just abandoned, right? They abandoned everything, left the property trash, they did all this stuff and didn't get nothing out of it when they could have at least got maybe 3 to 5 grand, 5 to 10 grand, depending, to where they can go and rent a new place and just get started, right? It's not the equity you were looking for, but it can be help. It could be a fresh start. All right, for buyers and investors. All right. Now, this is where you have a great chance to pick up great deals, especially in 2025. If you're seeing REOs hit the market, you want to try to get these deals done because the market is down, at least in the Bay Area, particularly in the East Bay. So when a lender takes a property back, they're just trying to get their money back, or they're trying to minimize their loss. They're not so concerned with the market value of the property like a regular seller is. All right. Now, if you can get to this property before it hits the market, like I was saying, that's the best chance you can do. Or when a property hits the market, it's been on the market for a while. There you go. Because a lot of times lenders, they don't want to take a loss. They want to try to minimize their loss. But if the property value came way below where their what they lent out, they are going to take a loss, right? So sometimes the properties will sit. And so then that's a great time where you can come in and make an offer. Now, you gotta remember this, is that you gotta be a problem solver here. A lot of times I've got an REO property listed now, and we've had a couple crazy offers, and I'm just like, the the seller's flexible and negotiable, but they're not gonna give it away for no, you come with an offer with no basis on where you are. Um, they're not gonna, and then they're gonna remember you. That's the thing. If this REO world is a small world, and it has changed a lot. A lot of the people I worked with back in the day are either retired or not working there anymore. So it's a new, fresh batch of people. They remember you. They get an offer for you on this one property, and they have another property, and they're gonna be, oh yeah, no, we're not even considering from XYZ person because they're a low baller, and they didn't even like explain to us why they were coming in. You're coming in with an aggressive offer. You need to like summarize your offer, how you got to that point, and why it solves a problem for the seller. Not just, hey, I'm just coming in with a rock bottom price because you foreclosed on a property. Even if it's a difficult property, you got to be able to break it down and explain it. All right, very very important. And key to remember here: banks are motivated to sell in 2025. It's a slower market, right? They are motivated to get something done and a little bit more flexible. Sometimes a lender may even be willing to extend you credit in the form of seller financing because they are a lender. They don't want to do that usually. They want to get rid of this thing. But they also are realistic in the sense of, hey, maybe nobody's paying cash at the price we want it. So maybe the price, in order for us to get the price, we can extend credit to a qualified buyer. And those terms could probably be a little bit generally better than you can get it in the market, particularly today when we're in a higher interest rate environment. If you can get a seller to carry at 5% where you were looking at, 6.5%, well, now you've created alpha, you've created return, just based on the financial engineering of the deal. So that's a great opportunity that you can do in REOs. I do see an uptick for sure in commercial real estate, but I'm also seeing an uptick in residential real estate properties that are on the market that are going back to the lender right now. So this is going to be a great opportunity. I don't think it's nothing like 2008, 2009, y'all. It's nothing like that. People have put money and actually qualify for these loans now. Back in the day, people was no money down. People didn't qualify. So when the lenders were cut, that's why people just abandoning and walking away. People are not abandoning. They're not walking away. Uh, People are trying to figure things out. That's why the theme to this presentation is being a problem solver. Being a problem solver will help you to get more deals done, help you to build relationships with sellers, build relationships with lenders, build relationships with brokers that will increase your deal flow. as a property owner. Being a problem solver will help you to get out of your situation sooner, more effectively, more efficiently, and will also help you to move on to the next stage, right? Nobody wants to lose a property. Nobody wants to sell at a discount. What you do when you get in a situation is you just got to get real. You got to get really real. You got to get truthful with yourself and make your next move your best move in the sense of creating a better situation than you're in right now, right? And that could be hard when you're going through it, but the whole point and the whole premise here is moving forward, right? And having lost properties before. Again, I speak from experience. It feels like hey, you're in the mix. It feels like it's the worst thing in the world, right? And then sometimes you look on the other side of it, like, all right, well, it wasn't. It's not the worst thing in the world. And yeah, maybe my credit's impacted. Maybe I lost a bunch of money. Maybe I lost a property, but there's a better way. If you can do that up front, though, while you're in the process, you probably can walk out with some capital, some cash, maybe not all your equity, maybe more than all your equity, but that where you can take that and do something else more productive. All right.